There's many different types of evidence and how we categorize them and how useful they're going to be in court. Let's look at class evidence first. It's any material that connects an individual to a group. So it's used to corroborate evidence or a crime scene. So it places somebody at a crime scene. An example would be blood type. We can narrow it down to AB, or O, or fibers from a carpet. We can say that the fibers are from a carpet that is a specific color and possibly from a specific manufacturer. That would be class evidence, okay, narrowing it down to a group. Individual evidence is a little bit more useful, and it's going to be a type of evidence that identifies a particular person or thing. Examples would be DNA or a fingerprint because they're unique to an individual. The only time that DNA would not work is if you had identical twins, but they would actually have different fingerprints. Now, we have individual and class as two topics, but now we have evidence that we're going to talk about as direct or circumstantial, and that can fall under each category. So direct evidence is evidence that, if it's true, proves an alleged fact. And this would be something like an eyewitness account of a crime or a confession. The best type of direct evidence is a confession. And circumstantial evidence is evidence that's used to imply a fact but doesn't prove it directly. It, again, just corroborates evidence, or what somebody's saying. It tells them, if you say, well, you were at the coffee shop. Yes, I was at the coffee shop because they found something that places them there. If you left your cell phone at the scene of a crime, then you were at the scene, but they need evidence that's actually going to put maybe the weapon in your hand. So here we have evidence, you have circumstantial, and then each of these, trace, physical, and biological, can fall under circumstantial evidence. So trace evidence is any evidence that's small but measurable. It can be physical or biological material that's found at a crime scene. So we could look at pet hair on clothes, broken glass, paint chips, hair on a brush, a drop of blood on a shirt. All of that would be considered trace evidence because it's found typically in small amounts, but it's still measurable. Physical evidence just describes evidence that narrows a suspect to a smaller group. So fingerprints are the only exception to this because they're individual evidence. So typically physical evidence tends to be class evidence, but it's something that you're actually going to be able to see. It's tangible. Things like impressions, fibers, weapons, bullets, and casings. And biological evidence is more persuasive in court because it tends to be individual, because it makes a group of suspects very small. And what we're talking about here are body fluids, hair, plant parts even, and natural fibers, because we can narrow the range of suspects down quite a bit with biological evidence. So you have two categories, class evidence and individual evidence. Class evidence narrows the evidence to a group, and individual evidence, will be specific to one particular person or thing. And then you have circumstantial and direct evidence, direct being a confession, and then you have your circumstantial, which just places somebody at a crime scene, and under that you have biological, physical, and trace evidence. So evidence can also be trace and physical or trace and biological. It can fall under two categories.